And we are live. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Laura and I are with you. I've got something in front of my screen. Laura and I are with you for our last live of 2020. Hey, Laura.
Hello.
How are you?
UK. Hello, US. Here we are. Virus still going. People getting shut down. Christmas is here in a couple days. And we're doing this.
We are
live with you. We feel the weirdness in the air. But we are here. And we love you all. And we love each other. And we love ourselves. And we're here.
We are here. We are doing it. We have survived 2020.
Yeah, I mean,
we've come through this. Yeah, we've had we've had ups, downs, twists, turns. I think it's been like the biggest emotional roller coaster ever.
Yeah, beyond. And I think for those of us who really are empaths and feelers, we are doing great. For those who can block out emotion, think this is all normal, good for you. I admire it. I'm just not wired that way.
No, we're just like, what the hell is going on? It's been one of those. So, Laura, tell everybody what we're doing today.
So I think they'll appreciate our process of how we got to today's discussion. So Kelly and I always brainstorm every week about what should we talk about next week, what kind of things are we seeing in the community, and lo and behold, we typically are so aligned. It's amazing around like, this is what HR pros are telling me. Oh, me too. Okay, great. And so it's really easy to come up with a topic. So last week, Kelly said, we should be so vulnerable next week and just talk about our years and let people know how we're feeling. And I said, I love that. I mean, we always do it, but I hear what she's saying. But I said, I think if we want to be really brave and really vulnerable, we should talk about the one thing we hate talking about. And she looked at me and was like, ourselves. We are business owners. And it is not pleasant for either of us to self-promote, to sell, to talk about what we do. Our humility is one of our strengths, but frankly, it's also one of our areas for development. And I think that we both sort of looked at each other like, I think we should do it. I think we should spend an hour just talking about our stories and who we are and how we can add value to the community, as uncomfortable as this may be for us. I appreciate anyone who takes the time to be patient with us, because I think it's just like we need to talk the talk and do the things that are icky for us. And this is icky for us.
Yeah, I think I spent all day cringing. This is the one, I'm not an over-preparer, although I will overachieve, overperform, all of that sort of stuff. I tend to just kind of go off the hook. And for pretty much all of our conversations, other than last week with our kind of shout-outs, like I come to these just with like, kind of open heart, open mind, let's just see where the conversation goes. And today it was like, I feel like I need to prepare, right? I need to have all of this stuff. And I was like, I'm not doing it. And I think I have spent, so what is it for you? 11 a.m. It's 4 p.m. here, just gone 4 p.m. And I have been cringing all day. Like, oh, I can't do this. And I was like, yeah, I can. We're here. We're going to show up. We're going to have the conversation.
No, it's like if we really wanted to be vulnerable, we should do the thing that's hard for us. And this is hard for us. For other people, this is like so fun. And we're like, can't we just talk about everybody else for an hour?
I know. I'm still thinking, like, can we deflect the conversation?
Well, we probably will. So anyone watching who's a psychologist or psychiatrist, have fun watching us like dodge every possible chance to talk about ourselves. But we get it. We're doing it.
Yeah. Now, before we go, hey, Nikki. Hey, Sue. Lovely to see you both. I hope you're both having a lovely day, whatever time it is for you, whatever it is that you're doing. If any of you have any questions for Laura or I,
maybe that would make it easier.
If you've got questions for Laura or I about what we do, how we do it, maybe part of our journey, something that you're curious about, ask the question, because that might be easier than any of us
trying to do it.
Well, I could ask you questions all day.
I know, that's what I said. I was like, I guess we'll just, but I was like, I don't want to interview each other. I feel like we just need this to be natural. I don't know how we're going to do it, but I thought like, because when you said like, let's talk about our year, I was like, maybe we should talk about what we've done in our businesses this year. That's an easy place to start, because like really a lot of business owners this year just went under the covers, took a bunch of pills and said, wake me up when this thing's over, which is like, great. I mean, I get it. We fought hard against that. And so I think maybe that is a good place for us to start. Like what this year Okay, Nikki, why do you both do it? That's a good question, the why. All right, we'll get there in a second. I love that one. So what do you think, Kelly? Do you want to just talk about maybe like how you, I don't want to use the word pivoted because we're sick of it. No, but just like how you kind of took this year and said, okay, what can I do that's different and unique? And tell us how you were creative and innovative. I know you were.
Yeah, so I suppose it's kind of twofold. So I think and for those of you that don't know, I know Laura does. Nikki's coming with some questions, so we'll definitely come to those. But yeah, I think for me with some of this, so I think when the whole kind of the world shut and it was everybody started working from home, I think initially for me, I genuinely didn't think it would be that big a deal. I work pretty much from home most of the time anyway. We only really use our office when we go into kind of team days. And at the time I had just the Chrysalis crew. I then started a second business during a pandemic, which is always a really good thing to
finish that. So that's like, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
I just started another business.
Yeah, so I started,
Okay.
So I started a second. But I think when it first started, I genuinely didn't think that it would really be that much different. But I think what I hadn't expected was to be working from home with my entire family, all of us trying to share Wi-Fi and space and conversation time and all of those sorts of things. And I think because for me, it was just like, well, we'll just be working from home. So many clients and customers and potential clients and so many within the HR community had never worked from home, never, ever worked from home. And so I think some of that was, I'm going to say pretty much we carried on doing what we've always done. So we've always worked virtually, albeit a lot of, a lot of our workshops were in person, but we really just put those online. And I think expected that everybody else would just say, okay, yeah, we'll just take this stuff online, not really recognizing that because it was so new to so many people, some people just like, well, we just need to cancel, because if we can't do it in person, we just have to cancel. So there was a real kind of education piece at the beginning and a lot of kind of winning around trust. Like we like kind of, we're in our comfort zone. Like we can do this. This is how we can do this. This is how we can talk. This is how we can work together. So even some of the kind of consultancy stuff that we've been working on, some clients were like, we need to stop it until July. And it was okay, fine. Like we couldn't do anything with that. But again, I think through that education piece, if we did start it earlier, if you still wanted to do it, this is how we could do it. This is how it could work. And I was grateful. I think I spoke about it, in our conversation last week, really grateful for the trust that so many people put into me and the rest of the crew when we were saying we could do this.
Yeah.
We could do this.
Yeah.
And so I think more of that kind of education, so much more kind of trust building, because it's not just, okay, we really love what you do, come deliver it face to face for us. It was talking people through systems and how we could do it and how we could do it in an engaging way and what would be different about it. And talking to people about the fact that, if it's a face-to-face workshop, we may be in a room together for 6 or 7 hours. We are not sitting on Zoom for 6 or 7 hours. We'll break it up. We'll do some bite-sized stuff. It needs to be interactive. Yeah. So I think it was more, whilst for us, it was then a really small pivot. Let's stick with that word. There was a massive, massive shift for so many of our clients. And I'm just grateful that they trusted us enough to be able to do that.
So can you tell us exactly what the crew offers, like what types of workshops for those of, especially in my community who may not know you as well as your own?
Yes. Crew is 7 in January. And primarily it is with partnering with HR teams to help HR to do HR differently. So our kind of strapline, if you like, is all about changing the world of work. So the workshops that we offer, some are for HR, so mental well-being for HR, HR transformation, hot conversations, the kind of honest, open and transparent conversations, but lots around kind of HR, looking after HR better. And then we do kind of a lot of change stuff. So it is helping with reorganizations. It is helping with change management. Burning handbooks is one of my favorite ones. So that's been kind of the most popular keynote talk that we've done for ages, but we have workshops on that as well. So actually how you can literally burn the handbook so that you are not leading from just a load of words. You're actually leading from a real people first place, putting the people first in everything that you do to be able to change the world of work. And then we've also got the HR Hub, which again is an online community for HR. So you can go on.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
You join, and there's like over 100 hours of kind of learning content in there. And again, that is not teaching HR how to do HR, right? We know how to do the policy stuff, the process stuff, the procedure stuff. This is about helping HR to connect more deeply with themselves. So how to let go of judgment, how to look after yourself, self-care. There's loads and loads of different stuff in there, but it is about HR putting themselves first so that when they are leading by example and looking after themselves, they can then go on to change the world of work for others. So that's that in a nutshell.
I love that. And that probably answers, Nikki had asked us, like, why do you both do what you do, which I love. And I feel like that is your passion, to help HR pros.
It absolutely is, yeah. And I think for me, so again, maybe a little bit of background, but I'd worked in HR for almost 20 years before I started the crew. And I think one of the biggest things that was frustrating me was the fact that so many consultants that were being brought in by other members of the exec team, right the way through my career, really. But there were so many consultants that were being brought in that would just try and create problems and then try and charge us for fixing them. And then they would leave and it was like, what have they done? How can we carry it on? And I just thought there's got to be a more ethical way of doing this.
Right.
There's got to be a way where it is actually about the customer, the client that you're working with, rather than you just coming in to make loads of money, taking retainers and then charging us for all this. It was like, there's got to be a more ethical way to do this. And really, that was one of the driving forces that led me to start the crew. The second then was my burnout in 2013. And really the kind of burnout stuff was the whole point. Like, there was nothing available for me. And the two previous HRDs that had been in the role before me had both developed really, really serious physical illnesses. I then hit the point of burnout, and my replacement, and I will always say, I cannot say and will not say whether it was connected, but my replacement, who went in as the HRD after me, 6 months after she had been in post, she died in her sleep whilst at a management training, well, like a leadership development day. And so you kind of think there were 4 of us as HRD in this one organisation. All of us have developed all of these illnesses, issues. There was no support available for HR. There was no support internally. I had a coach, but even I didn't know what was happening. My coach didn't really know to ask me about any of that. I can remember reaching out to the CIPD, and for those of you that are watching live or on replay, you will know my thoughts on them. But there was nothing available for me. Nobody wanted to help me as an HRD, and that at some point started to make me think that I was the issue. But when I then started again to look at these 3 other women who had all worked for the same organisation, we'd all created these kind of similar ailments, issues, mental health stuff, physical stuff, like who the bloody hell is looking after HR? And that is really one of the things that has driven me the most over the last 7 years. Like, we as HR have to be putting ourselves first, because there genuinely is nobody else out there looking after us.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, who the hell is bloody looking after HR is like your mission statement, basically.
There you go. Who the bloody hell is looking after HR?
Yeah, and it's a perfect mission statement because we need it. And yeah, it's like as if nobody has really thought about it in a way.
Yeah. So if I quickly answer the rest of Nikki's second question, then we'll come on to you, Laura, because I know you're sat there patiently waiting. But what makes me keep doing it this year, and again, I think this is similar for both of us, as soon as this started to hit again, I could see the pressure and the added stuff that was being put on HR shoulders. I know particularly here in the UK, whilst we were having all of these announcements about furloughs and closes and lockdowns and all of that sort of stuff, that HR was sat there at 5 o'clock on a Friday evening, watching the bulletin, having exactly the same message as everybody else, and they had CEOs ringing them to say, so what does this mean for our business? And it's like, I am watching exactly the same thing as you. Like, I don't know what this means. I'm watching the same thing as you. I know HR professionals that had team members, people from across the business, what does this mean for my holiday? What does this now mean for my sickness absence? What does this mean for, should I be coming into work on Monday? It's like, I don't know, because I am watching the same information as you. Like, this is as new to me as it is you. I'm also in a pandemic. I'm also having to get to grips with working from home. I'm also kind of finding my feet with all of this. And nobody was looking after HR. I was seeing public shout outs from CEOs for the IT team for getting all of the working from home stuff sorted out, for sorting out networks, for making sure that people had all the stuff. Shout outs to telephone companies for getting everybody access that they needed. Shout outs to facilities for making sure that everybody had desks and chairs to work from. I didn't see one thank you for HR. And yet every HR professional I was speaking to was either in tears, angry, frustrated, lost, scared, absolutely no idea where to turn. And that has been what has kept me going this year. And I know, you and I have spoken about it a lot. Like, we've got to show that we are all in this together. It's not just one HR professional that this is impacting. It is all of us. And I get it's the world, so HR aren't exclusive to this. But we've just had additional pressures and worries and strains. And some of us have lost our jobs, and some of us don't know what's happening. Some of us have been furloughed all year. Some of us have been working from home. Some of us have had caring responsibilities and all of this sort of stuff. Nikki, when will I get my vaccine? Yeah. HR do not know the answers to this.
Right, and they're just as scared as everybody else.
Yeah.
That's the part that's so it's like,
yeah. So that's what's driven.
That's what prompted you to start your other business this year, which is really, right? So tell us more about that, because I think that came out of that realization that HR pros were so underserved.
We are coming to you in a minute, Laura. Don't think you can just keep I like your style. So I think for me, so as part of the crew, we have always provided coaching, and not just to HR professionals. We've coached finance team, IT team, senior execs, boards, all of that kind of stuff. But I think I've started to realize more over the last few years that when people are looking for coaches, they don't necessarily want an organization full of coaches. They're looking for a coach that they can speak to, where people can find out more about them. So hence Kelly Swingler was born as a brand, and something that I suppose has been on the back burner for the last 3 or 4 years, but I didn't necessarily think it was important. But I just think I wanted to be able to show that I am here, and I am, so whilst it is separate to the crew, it's pretty much about the same thing. We've got to be looking after ourselves if we want to change the world of work. It's a slightly different brand. And within 24 hours of launching the website, so website I created myself just on Wix.com. This will do for now. Nobody will look at it anyway, particularly not this year because people have got other priorities. And within 24 hours of the website going live, I had 6 inquiries, and the coaching has just gone absolutely through the roof this year. So for that, I am grateful.
Yeah.
I think it shows it's needed. I think it shows that people do need help, and people need support, and people need that safe space to be able to talk about themselves, talk about the things that they can't talk to people about in the business because I'm HR and I haven't got a safe space to talk to somebody. But I'm eternally grateful for everybody that I've worked with this year. And again, everybody that's put their trust and faith in me, and that I can kind of help them get through it. And so that's
explaining it all and making it clear for us. Thank you. And it's amazing to start a new business in 2020 and to see a need. And I think that's really such an important driving factor when you serve the HR community, is to understand what the need is. And it's always evolving.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I did 5-6 years ago has evolved based on how HR has evolved.
Yeah.
And that's just the beauty of it.
We have still got a long way to evolve. We've got a long way to go, but we will get there. I'm absolutely committed to the fact that we will get there. So Laura.
Yes.
Go on. We'll do these questions. So let's start with, why do you do what you do?
I think I need to explain what I do first.
Okay.
Because I think I have to explain the what before the why. So I specialize in recruiting and hiring for HR professionals. So I started my business almost 8 years ago, so March 2013, because there was a need then for HR professionals to have a boutique service for them for their own hiring. So like you were saying, I was seeing amazing executive search firms only focused on CFO, chief technology officer, CEO, COO, and a few that covered like only the C-level positions in HR. But then it was the mass, large, contingent-based, high-volume, money-driven recruiting firms. And HR leaders were saying to me, like, I want service too. I want white glove service. I want nice treatment. I want to learn about hiring better. I want to learn about behavioral interviewing. I want to improve, and who's out there to teach me? And I thought, well, I love that part of recruiting. Like, I don't think it's just transactional where I just go fill the job and you write the check and we're done. I mean, there's nothing learned there, right? So I feel like if we partner together, I teach you how to do it. I teach you what works. We talk about all of this aspects of hiring. And then at the end, they probably don't need to ever hire me again, which I'm totally okay with because I feel like I've done my job. So that's what prompted it to begin. And that's really what I do. And the why I do it and kind of like why it's been fun to see it evolve is I think especially this year, there is a bigger desire to improve. There is a more genuine hunger for learning in recruiting. So there was judgment. If I went back 8 years, 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, HR leaders, when they admitted they needed help with me, it almost always started with, I'm embarrassed to admit this. I should know how to hire better. This should be easy for me to fill. I'm embarrassed to tell you I need help. Almost every single call would begin that way. And of course, because like you, I love emotional intelligence and I love caring and empathy, I would bring them on the journey in a safe way and we would get there anyway. But this year, there's almost like an excitement around it that I'm so pumped by. And that's really, for me, the why this year is like this genuine, like, Laura, we want to hire better. What do we do? Like, teach us. Let's go. Let's get this going. And then I've had HR job seekers saying to me, I haven't job searched in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 1 year. I need help. Like, can you help me do this better? And it's like, for me, just so liberating that I'm not fighting that resistance as much anymore. Because like when I got them over the resistance, the beautiful work began. But this year, I feel like we're kind of just getting through that a little bit easier. So that's like really inspiring to me.
And you said something interesting when you were kind of talking about the what you do, but you said the word partnering. And again, I think that's something that's really important to me. Like when I'm working with people, I am a partner. I'm not here to tell you what to do or what not to do. For me, it is about that partnership.
Yeah.
I know more so for you, like that comes out in the posts, the videos, everything that you do. That seems to be kind of like the golden thread of all of that comes out. Why is that partnering approach so important to you?
It's a great question, and I appreciate that question. I've actually never thought of it in that way. And my first answer is that I believe HR professionals need to be treated with respect. And if I know I use the word serve, and I know there's an argument that I do feel I serve them in many respects because they are my client, but the partnership piece of what I mean, and again, it's like, I respect that they have opinions, that they have things they need to unlearn, that they have areas for development, they have what we would call blind spots, or, I know there's better words for that, but my brain right now, in other words, I recognize that they're imperfect, I don't judge them. And so I don't come to them with like, I'm the recruiter, I know how to hire better, everything you've learned is wrong. Because a lot of people treat HR pros that way. A lot of service-oriented people treat HR pros that way. I think you and I both have seen it. We've had peers say to us, we talked about it recently, I can't believe you guys partner with HR. They're the worst. They're so hard. We hear it all the time. They're so difficult. They're so guarded. They're so cold. And I'm always like defending them like, they're human beings. They're in a tough job. They have a hard job, a really hard job to do. Instead of like shaming them or shunning them or resisting them, I want to bring them in. And so to do that, I have to be a partner to them, right? And I have to let them know that, yeah, I'm going to teach you some things because I am an expert, and I'm going to give myself the confidence to tell you. I've been hiring for 17 years for HR. I know what works. And like, you're going to bring ideas to me too, and I'm going to learn from you too. It's like, I learn every day, and I let them know that hopefully I'll be able to share with you what I'm learning from you, and you'll be able to share with me what you're learning from me. But it takes such a vulnerability for a lot of people to partner that way, because it's a braver kind of approach. It's a more intimate approach to work, really.
Yeah, I love that. What's kept you going this year?
You know, a good question. It's like, it's the stubbornness that I'm in it this deep, and I love it so much, and it feels like a child of, it's like I have birthed this thing 8 years ago. Like, I'm not going to abandon it now in its like weakest time. And I believe that, yes, HR hiring has slowed immensely. I'm sure anyone watching this would have empathy for me with that. I mean, come on, we've seen layoffs, we've seen furloughs, we've seen, it's not exactly an HR hiring boom yet, but I have faith that there will be a boom soon, and I will be here to be ready for it the way I was in 2008 and 2009 when I sat at my desk just kind of staying the course, knowing that they would need me again. And so there's a certain resilience I have and optimism I have that's like just deeply rooted in me that I guess is like, I wouldn't give up now. This is not the time.
And I know you've had I know we had some comments at the beginning of some conversations right at the very beginning of lockdown. I think we had both seen similar, shall we say, similar experts in what it is that we do. So you from a recruitment perspective, me from I suppose if you like an HR consultancy perspective, who when all of this started vanished.
Yeah.
And I think as part of that, you and I can remember I was living in my old house at the time, sat in the conservatory, like this is the only place I can get any Wi-Fi whatsoever with everything that's going on at the minute. But we both, I suppose, kind of made, I don't know, a pledge, a promise, a commitment that we just needed to show up more than ever this year, right?
Yeah.
Acknowledge that this is crap.
Yeah.
We are in it together, but we will stay visible and we will keep doing whatever it is that we need to do. And I genuinely do not think that anybody could say you have not done that throughout this year. So we've been doing these videos, you've been doing your own little snippet videos with your beautifully crafted intro and outro, which I still one of. But we've been doing that. And I know there have been times where we have both been exhausted. We have both been like, what? Like, we just need to stop.
Yeah.
But we've kept on going. I know you have been reaching out to hundreds of thousands of HR professionals this year. I know you've started to do speaking gigs and all of those sorts of things. Why has that level of visibility been so important for you to do this year?
Yeah. I know, it's really hard, right? When I hear it, I'm like, I don't know how, because it's so easy just to say like, this sucks, this market's bad, I hate this, it's a pandemic, I just want to go under a rock and wake me up when it's over. And like, I guess it's like you're built how you're built. Like, I'm proud that I'm ambitious and I'm type A. And I mean, all those flaws of mine, right? The perfectionism, the overfunctioning. I mean, they're not flaws, but the in some ways, they're the annoying parts of my own personality, but they're also the things that get you up in the morning and like, I'm at my desk at 8:05, I literally was, I was quarantining in my parents' basement in the depths of April and May when this city was in difficult times, and my mom would be like, what are you doing going to your laptop, like relax. And I was like, at the desk 8:05, emailing HR leaders, letting them know I'm here, letting them know I care. And I guess because I agree with you that I think it's such an underserved community of people that when I was having conversations with them in April and May, and they were weeping to me about how hard it is and how stressed they are, I thought I have the capability to be there for them. Like that is a strength of mine. I do feel called to serve and rise when it's a hard time because I can. So like the downside to it is that you make it to December and you're exhausted, right? Because you've been doing and giving and like showing up month after month. So you've reminded me, Nikki has reminded me, Sue has reminded me that I know the folks watching who I had talked to have reminded me that it's also important that I just let it settle now too and just sort of chill. But that's my area for development, is learning when to just be like, it is enough. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week during a pandemic is enough. It's like tiring. Yeah. But I think you do it for them. You do it for the community that you feel like really needs it.
It is needed. It is needed, and it has been needed. So a big thing for me is values. Like leaders kind of really important to me. Tell us what you would say your values are, and how do you think they have shown up for you this year? How have you shown up through your values this year?
And then you're going to answer the same question.
Okay.
So I've had them written on my desk for years, but I actually just redid my website this year. That was another fun 2020 project. And you can read more about them on eastsidestaffing.com because I did really break them down with more clarity. Mm-hmm. But they are kindness, humility, and curiosity. So these have, since I started, you and I both know when I launched the business 8 years ago, I don't think anyone told us to like write down your 3 values. Like no one gave me this advice. This sort of came over time. And now I would advise anyone who's thinking to launch a business to really think it through from day one. Because they are completely your guiding force. They let you know which clients to take on and what work to do and why you're doing the work. I mean, I know Nikki is a business owner and that's why she asked us the question, why do you do what you do? Because unless you know why, it's really hard to keep it going. So for me, I suppose this idea of being kind, being humble, and being curious is what makes hiring work. Like, so if there's no kindness in a hiring process, if there's no humility in a hiring process, and if there's no curiosity in a hiring process, that's when we see it disastrous. And we see a lot of it, right? And that's why I'm so passionate to help it, because it's like, these seem straightforward, but they're skills, and they're skills that need to be talked through. So when I work with a new client, a new HR leader for their team, I explain the values and I ask them, are you willing to go on the journey with me? So that way we can call each other out when we see it, and we can kind of use it as a tool. So if they're like, I just don't know why, like these candidates aren't coming back in for second interviews, like I don't know what we're doing wrong, we can address it and say, well, I think Bob was unkind in the interview because the candidates told me he said X, Y, Z. And they're like, hey, how did that happen? So we can address it and fix it. Is it, I think that's what it is. And for HR job seekers, these values are really important too. So going into a job search with kindness, curiosity, and humility usually helps them feel more empowered and feel kind of like they have more agency to be in control of their own search. And frankly, it's how I want to work. I don't want to work with unkind people. I don't want to work with arrogant people. And I don't want to work with closed-minded people. So for me, these were the easy, like, this is how I like work. It's more fun when these values are prevalent.
Love that.
Yeah. So what are yours?
So I suppose the first 2 for me, and they do sound, I suppose, quite corporate, if you like, if we were to say, what would they be? But I think one for me is absolutely about integrity. And I don't know, however it is that you want to do that. But for me, that is absolutely doing the right thing, even when nobody's looking.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing for me.
I love that.
And and again, you and I have had some really, I don't know, deep conversations over the last while. But for me, I think where I get really frustrated is where I see people doing one thing or saying one thing and then doing another. Yeah. Where I see people saying one thing, but you just kind of think, well, that's not true. That can't be, it's that kind of stuff. And some of that comes from me from kind of a gut feel. So the integrity part for me is doing the right thing, even when nobody's looking. That's an absolute driving force.
And that's something you coach your HR leaders on.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's that bit for me. And again, I think I've seen, and I do think there's a difference. I think some people try to do the right thing, and I think as long as they're coming from a good place in terms of what it is that they're doing, just keep trying, keep going, keep doing whatever it is that you need to do. This isn't about always having to be right, but I think if you are doing the right or what you think is the right thing for the right reasons, absolutely no issues whatsoever. But I think for me, it is when there is that lack of integrity, it's where there is for me that big disconnect.
Yeah.
I think this year we have seen, or I believe we have seen more than ever, not just HR leaders, but people across the world, where lots of people are just doing the right, I'm going to take just out of that, but where lots of people are doing the right thing because it is the right thing.
Yeah.
Lots of people trying to do the right thing because it's the right thing. And lots of people paying lip service to doing the right thing, even though there is this complete misalignment in what it is that they're doing. So integrity for me, absolutely.
I love that. I just had like such a little aha moment as you were talking that's just so interesting, because if all HR leaders and CEOs, if they just sat around the table and said, like, what's the right thing to do for people? Again, it seems simple. Exactly. It's like one of those things that, like, right, it sounds obvious and easy, but I know that's the work. Like, that is really the work that you're helping people to get to. It's like, so what do you think the right thing is? And then how can we get you to do that right thing?
Yeah.
Hiring has the same challenges. Like, it's not impossible to hire well, but there's always some block that has to like come, and most recruiters don't want to do that heavy lifting, like, because it's hard to get people through that barrier, that self-block, the whatever you want to call it, the limiting beliefs, the insecurities, the fears. Like, we're dealing with human beings, and that's what's showing up when they're doing HR. So that's such a big breakthrough for me of like, of course, doing the right thing sounds easy, but it's hard.
Yeah, it is, and it can be, and I don't think it always has to be, but I think there is also recognizing that sometimes, doing the right thing does not mean that it is the easiest thing, but it means it is the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think this year we've seen completely different ends of the spectrum with that, but that's a huge thing for me. This second one for me is, I want to say kind of justice, but I think it's kind of justice, fairness. And this isn't kind of treating everybody how you would want to be treated. And it's not necessarily treating everybody equally, which sounds really bizarre, but it is for me about ensuring that everybody does have a level playing field. Like, if you've given this person an opportunity, this person also deserves an opportunity. And with a lot of the charity stuff that I do, I've done volunteering and fundraising and all sorts of stuff for Hope for Justice, which are all about kind of ending modern slavery. I've been over to Uganda and kind of watched what happens in some of the kind of lighthouses where there have been kids kind of as young as 5 that they've stopped from kind of being trafficked. And it's that kind of stuff. But when I'm in those sorts of things, it is like I get this kind of heart-wrenching, like, this is so unfair.
Yeah.
This is, like, we've got to do something to kind of stop this.
Yeah.
But and some of the stuff that we do for the YMCA over here in the UK, and kind of homelessness and all of those sorts of things. And I think I just have this kind of driving force, really, that we all deserve what I think are the basics in life. I think we all deserve clean water, we all deserve food, we all deserve a roof over our head, we all deserve education, and we all deserve, like, love in whatever kind of way, shape or form that would be. And that justice, fairness, whatever it is that you kind of want to call it, that keeps me going. And again, I think when I see so much stuff and I think that's why I get so pissed off, excuse my language, but when I see HR not getting the thanks for what they do, when I see leaders that are definitely not making the right decisions for their people, where they're favoriting people or any of those sorts of things. But they're my two absolute drivers. And then things like absolute curiosity and absolutely learning. And then also something for me around challenge, and I don't mean just kind of challenge for this. Alice in Wonderland, there we go. We love a bit of Alice and her curiosity. But the other thing I think is around challenge, and I think ever since I was a really young girl, like I've wanted to, and some of this is kind of curiosity, but some of it is the challenge. Like I want to know why we're doing things a certain way. I want to get to the root cause of issues, problems, and frameworks, and I want to really, really dig down deep and understand why we've been doing this for 20 years, or why we think this is the right way to go. So some of that is the curiosity, but I'm also not afraid to challenge.
Yeah.
Is there a different way? Is there a better way? Could we be looking at it differently? And that's not always won me lots of friends, and that's not always won me lots of clients.
Yeah.
But I have to stand by that, and if you're not prepared to open up, tell me what's at the root cause, and at least be prepared to challenge some of your thinking and some of your mindsets and some of your ways of working, I'm not the right person for you.
So how I said I've been noticing this year, and it's slow, but there's a shift where HR pros seem more receptive to support, to learning about themselves from people like us who can help them get there. Do you find that too, that like if you go back 5-6 years, that was harder for HR pros to go down that challenge road with you, to be called upon to like, I know the work we have to do, we have to sometimes give feedback that's really constructive and really actionable and really hard to hear for a lot of people. And do you find there's a shift where people are saying to you, Kelly, give it to me straight, like let me know what you think I can do?
Yeah, and I would probably say more so over the last 2 years. That said, and this again sounds really weird, it's kind of like in order to be in that place, they've already started to do some of that work themselves anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm not the first point.
Yeah.
For
I agree.
That are ready for that feedback, because actually I will be honest and I will tell it like it is, or you will, I'll turn it back around on you. If it's a coaching relationship, you tell me, and we'll kind of have that bit there. So in those instances, for a lot of those people, they've already started to do some of that work, and then it's like, okay, I'm ready to step this up a level. Kelly, now like I need you to help me. I've seen your blogs, I've seen your articles, I've seen your podcasts, I've seen some of these videos. Like I'm ready to kind of step it up a gear. But I still think there are lots of people who are not ready for that. And I think some of that comes from the fact that there is a lot of this imposter syndrome. There is a lot of lacking confidence. There is a lot of lacking self-belief. And actually, if you then come to me and, you're kind of wanting me to tell you it straight, that's probably going to do one of two things. You're either going to hit rock bottom or you're going to start to rise. But I think particularly with where some of the HR's headspace has been this year and their energy levels, they wouldn't be ready to hear some of that because they're already at that point of exhaustion.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of topping up some of those energy levels and then being like, right, I'm ready. Right, let's work through this. Let's do what needs doing. Let's take it to where it is that we need to go.
Yeah. And for the record, we do this all with love and compassion. So
we do.
Exactly. I remember the first time it was a male candidate that I placed, 6-7 years ago. The business was new, and he wrote a review on LinkedIn. I should share the link with you guys later. And it was funny, but I remember he wrote something like, if you want a recruiter who just tells it straight, tells it like it is. I forget exactly the wording of it. And I remember the first time I read it, I was like, that's like such an insult. Like, I don't want to be known as like the blunt one who just like, and then now, Nikki's asking like things we're learning, and my brain is thinking of like that. For me now, it's such a sense of pride. But at the time, I was embarrassed about it. Now I'm like, how cool to be the person who actually is willing and brave enough to say, here are the 3 things that we might want to change. Here's what we have to do. And again, I always remind them it's we're doing it together. I'm not asking you to do something I'm not willing to do. But like, if you want to improve your HR department, like these are things that really need to be adjusted. And so like, I'm glad that I'm not like just yesing them to death all the time. Even if
and you don't win anything. You don't win anything from that. You don't learn anything from that. And I think we've both said many times repeatedly, like you cannot grow unless you're prepared to go to the other side of your comfort zone. Like if you want to stay comfortable and safe and where you are, there's no growth in that. There's no learning from that. There's no anything that you want to do. So I think, and I'm going to say something and then I'm like, oh, was that a Brené Brown quote? I don't quite know. But I think you've got to be prepared to be uncomfortable if you want to grow. And some of that is hearing some of the stuff. And I do think for the majority of us, we do know the things that we need to change, whether we want to admit it or not. We do know it. But sometimes we need somebody else to say, hey, Laura, right, these, like you said, these 3 things are things that we could work on. These 3 and you know, and some of it will be, I kind of knew that already. So a lot of it doesn't necessarily come as a surprise. We just don't always want to hear it, and we don't always want to put the effort in, to put the work in to make the change. Because again, we get used to kind of being, in our little comfort blanket. It's safe, it's secure. We can, and it's a choice, isn't it? Rip the blanket off and get moving.
But we're both so motivated by a desire to help HR evolve and improve, and so I guess that's why we're also willing to address the issues, right? Because I don't know how we could get it to this progressive, forward-thinking, innovative, amazingly strategic, perfect profession if we're not addressing the growing pains along the way.
No.
And it's like, I wish I could get you there without doing this work. You can't have a perfect hiring process without addressing where you're imperfectly doing it now. You can't be the best HR hiring manager if you tell me that the way you've done it for the last 20 years is perfect, because it's not. No one is. I'm learning how to hire more every day, right? And I do it for a living, and it's still a process.
Yeah.
So if you're an employee relations executive hiring someone for your team, you have to learn how to hire better. And you're going to hear things about your process that are uncomfortable, as you say. And that's like, there's a freedom, though, when the room is willing and able to say, just tell us, let's go, let's do it. Like, let's just do it. It's like, we can laugh if we do. We bring humor, we bring joy. It's like light, and by the end, we're all having a good time. It should be fun. It's not like strenuous. It's more just, if you come to me and say, like, this is the way we've always done it, we're not interested in process improvement, like, we're not the right partner. It's so funny. Like, gosh, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, a law firm was referred to me through a previous colleague, and they wanted to hire this, like, I don't even remember now what the role was, some HR executive. And so, of course, like, I take the search on and I do all of the things I always do. Like, I type out a lot of data, I give a lot of qualitative information. This is what the market bears. These are the challenges we're going to face. He literally said to me, we don't want any of this information, just resumes. This is not useful to us in the least. I'm like, you're not paying any extra for it. It's part of my service, and it will help us get there. And we both agreed this wasn't going to work, because, like, I couldn't just send resumes to a job that was deeply flawed for a number of reasons that we had to address, but the process is, and, like, again, as we were just saying about that other example, when I first felt that, I felt uncomfortable. I was like, oh, maybe I should have just stuffed it up. That's really weird that I said no to a client and sort of, like, broke up with them. But, like, no, now I'm so empowered. And so, like, Nikki's asking us, what have you taken as your biggest learning from 2020? Like, I think I'm finally standing in my worth as a business owner, that I have a process. You're hiring me and you're engaging with me because you need help. And so this is the way the help comes. You have to trust the data I'm providing, the insights I'm providing, the expertise I'm sharing is there to help you. And so now, if they're not willing to receive it, I'm willing to say, this isn't a match. And that's, like, huge for me. I can be a deep people pleaser, but that's a big growth for me.
Yeah, and I know we've both said no to clients this year and before. And again, I think that is that kind of values-driven stuff, isn't it? If we're not fit, it's not going to work. Yeah. We're not going to get anything out of it. We might get some money out of it, but we're not going to get anything out of it, and we're not going to, if we can't add the value, not interested.
But here's the other part I learned, like, that made me more confident, I think, to say no. we would be harming the HR community to say yes to some of those things.
Yeah.
Because like, and that's what helped me get out of my own ego, is like, it's actually more about them. It's really that I don't want to put candidates in an environment like that. You don't want to coach HR pros who behave like in a toxic way or in an environment. Like, you don't want to, like, we see it, we're thinking to ourselves always, like, what would they want us to do? Like, they are you. I mean, that you are the community that we serve, partner with, support. So that has helped me be more confident saying no. Because I'm always like, they'll be proud I said no to this. They wouldn't want me to work on this. Like, you know, some conservative news functions in New York I've said no to. I mean, lots of funny things that I'm like, nobody wants to go there. I'm not going to work. Yeah. It's empowering to remember that there's an army of people behind us who are proud of us taking care of them. I mean, I know they do. I know they feel that.
Yeah.
And so what has been your biggest learning from 2020?
Again, I've had loads. I've been doing lots of reflections this week, but the biggest learning, I think, for me has been that this is like one of these cringeworthy. I'm sure I've written it down really well in my little reflection sheet. But for me, I think the biggest learning has been that I do and can continue to add value by remaining visible. And again, Laura and I joke about this all the time. So Laura's like city mouse and I'm country mouse. Laura's like mad extrovert and I'm like mad introvert. And so even when we first started talking about doing these things, it was like, oh no, like I'm happy interviewing other people and kind of asking them questions and getting bits out about them. But like, if it's, oh no, like don't. But actually this year, I have completely come out of my shell in terms of the videos, more writing. I've always done speaking, and I think the speaking has always been important for me because it's never been about me. It's always been about the audience. But I think even just sharing through some of my little videos and a few more of articles and blogs and whatever kind of different mechanism, actually, this is a thought that I've had. This is a reflection that I've had. This is what I saw yesterday, and similar stuff that, you know, we've kind of both been doing in our own different ways. Like, I cannot change the world. Cannot change the world, but I cannot change the world of work if I remain invisible.
Right.
And so I have had to kick my introvert arse.
Yeah.
And like, sometimes it is draining. Like, sometimes I don't want to be in front of the camera. Like, sometimes I genuinely just want to, you know, kind of hide behind the keyboard and maybe do an article, and that's great. And it works for some people, it doesn't work for others. So my biggest learning for me has been, that I cannot change the world of work by being invisible. I have to be visible. I have to be seen. I have to speak more of my mind. Yeah. And that's how I continue to drive some of the change that I'm driving. And it makes me cringe and squirm, but I'm doing it.
No, you're doing it. And I think what's so great is, like, as we think about what we were just talking about, how the community wants more of it. Like, they've asked us for it. We didn't just decide, oh, we're going to keep shoving videos on your face, like, because our egos need to stare at our faces. Yeah, we both are like not into this. This is not. I mean, it's taken work and confidence to be like, here we are. But we do it because our community really benefits from it, and they really tell us that this helps them, and so that's why we're doing it. And we're learning that it's fun to do the uncomfortable things. And so when we talked, that's the whole point of this whole show today, was like, when we knew that this is uncomfortable for us, we sort of had to do it because we're always telling you guys to do uncomfortable things. So here we go.
And again, I think as long as we both, like, we're doing it for the right reasons. So for me, that kind of comes into the integrity stuff, and we're doing it from our values. We're doing it from ethical. We're doing it from kindness. We're doing it from the right place. We're doing it for all of the right reasons. And again, I think that's one of the things that has kept us going this year. If it was just like, you know, oh, it's the Kelly and Laura show, and, you know, we're just going to be self-promoting every week and talking about every, you know, like, that wouldn't have suited us. And again, it suits some people, but the fact that we have given all year, it has been for other people. It's been aligned to our values. The things that we've been talking about have come from our values. And I think as long as we continue to stay aligned to our values and do what it is that we're doing, we're adding value whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. And I think being in the arena does mean being more visible, and that it's not ego driven, and it would never be for us because that's just not how we're built. So it's like we are being true to ourselves, and whatever, like, we can't control what other people think, but this is who we are. How funny that we just talked about Kelly being seen, and your camera just did a funny little thing for a second.
Okay.
But no, it's perfect now. But as soon as I said Kelly, like, being seen or something, you went like away for a split second. So classic. You'll love that in the replay. Yeah, no, we're here. I mean, we're doing it, and we're of course we're doing it from our values. It goes without saying. I wanted to ask us both, I guess, really, like, what we want to do more of in 2021 for our clients. Like, so they might be curious about, so like, okay, you've told us what you have done in the past. Like, what do you want to do in 2021? Is there anything kind of new that you want to offer, or anything that you want to let them know?
So I've got stuff on the horizon. So I've got another book that will be coming in April, and I want to do some kind of workshops and some more talks around that. I want to do I want to continue with the coaching. I'm loving the coaching. But I definitely want to be bringing more people together again. And again, I think, although I've just, kind of self-confessed as the introvert, I am missing some of those group interactions. And whilst it needs to stay online for now, that's fine. But I want to be bringing more people leaders together to thrash out some of these conversations in person. Right. And some of them may not have agendas. Some of them may just be like we've done with some of our conversations. Yeah. Like, this is a topic. Yeah. Let's share some thoughts. Yeah. So, I'm not, some of them may be structured, some of them don't have to be, but I want to be creating much more of that community, because again, I think the kind of strength in numbers things, the more of us that are talking about this, the more that we can start to drive some of that change. What about for you?
Yeah, I'm going to be asking you about writing a book next year, because so many people have told me I should, and I have been letting fear take over. So I will be asking you more about that next year. I have done more speaking this year. I've never really been on the speaking circuit, but this year I've gotten to do so much of it virtually, and I've loved it. I found it so energizing and inspiring and just fun. So I think there will be more of that next year, and more of kind of that recruiting, being a voice of what I believe recruiting to be. And I don't want to say influencer or expert, but frankly, yes, some of that, right? Sharing what I know and getting it out in a way that maybe is a unique point of view. I think what's been fun for me that I've done more of this year than I've ever done is really thinking about recruiting as a consultative business. I've always used the word, but never really thought about it in terms of different offerings. So a company doesn't just have to hire me if they have an HR search and want it filled. They can hire me and say, we're going to be doing the search on our own, but we want you to coach us through the process. Or we need your expertise to get there. Yeah. And that's been really fun to talk to some talent acquisition leaders, even about can I train your team? Does your team need support? Does your TA team need coaches? Do they need, and it's almost this epiphany for me that they've never invested in themselves before. Talent acquisition doesn't have that. And so I'm feeling inspired that hopefully it won't look just like, here's a search, go get resumes, fill the job, but it might be these more creative, I'm doing workshops or coaches or whatever, however it looks. I'm going to be helping companies hire better, in all the different ways that I can. So that feels really good to me.
Awesome.
Thank you all for letting us be so brave today.
Thank you.
I hope it wasn't so self-promoting and weird. I don't think it was.
We can breathe now. I'm clock watching. We're done.
That's the last time we'll be talking about ourselves for the next year and a half.
Yeah. we're not doing it again. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Nikki. We will see you at some point next year. Books from us both will be on a Christmas list for 2021. Let's get typing.
Oh, I love that idea. Thank you for the encouragement. A book from Laura would be awesome. Okay, good. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Untitled Chapter 2020. So funny. Can you imagine? She's really pushing us out of our comfort zone too.
Here is Laura's book. Let's discuss.
Right. You get nervous just thinking about it. I haven't even written them.
She's coming. Laura's is coming. I will be her book coach.
Yeah, you're going to be my book coach, obviously. I like how you're nervous about promoting a book we haven't even written yet. It's like, this is our classic. Like,
Yeah, mine's nearly done. Mine's coming April, and then I've got the.
oh, well, then we'll have to talk about it. A whole hour on you.
No, not happening. Right, Laura and I have done an hour. We want to say, if you're watching this pre-Christmas, well, firstly, thank you to those of us that were able to join us live. That was lovely of you. If you are watching this pre-Christmas, have a lovely, lovely Christmas, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever a lockdown Christmas in 2020 looks like. Enjoy. Yeah. If you're watching this between Christmas and New Year, we hope you had a lovely Christmas and we wish you a new year. And if you're watching it in 2021, then let's see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Cut yourself some slack this week if it feels weird and off and strange and bizarre, because it is. And whether you celebrate Christmas or not, take some time just to relax. And we love you all. And we are excited about 2021. New adventures ahead.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Happy 2021. Bye, everybody.